Do you know where you are? Do you know where you are?
This is Appetite for Distortion.
And welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. My name is Brando, episode 61. Roger Maris. If you don't like baseball, or if you're not a New York Yankee fan, you may not care, but I don't know, that was the first thing that popped into my head. We're just we're hanging out, having fun today. Thanks for joining us. 61 episodes, countless hours, I can't count them, hence the countless, of talking about GunsNRoses and talking to just different personalities inside the world of GNR, and today is no different. You guys are going to be my co-hosts slash guests today, and that's going to be Appetite for Destruction, a tribute band for GNR. You guys can say hello. It's okay.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on?
Great to be here. Great to be here.
Oh, you
You
had a deep voice, Axl Rob.
Well, try to be as authentic as you can,
I love it. I love it. And before we get into Shotgun News and get into your story, so we know who is who, I guess we're going to do what we did in elementary school and just go around round robin of just say your name and who you are. But I guess we can just easily start with Rob.
I am Rob Pfeffer, and I play Axl.
Hey, dude, I'm Mike, and I play Duff.
Andrew, and I'm Izzy.
John Ricotta, I do Slash.
And then we got Dan in the corner with the tambourine.
I'll lean over. I'm Dan in the corner with the tambourine.
He's our West Arkeen.
Yeah. Yes. Well, hopefully not completely. We want you to. Well, that's a morbid joke. I awkwardly start everything. Every podcast in a very awkward way. But again, thanks for joining us, and I appreciate you guys coming down in the studio. I know most of you are from Long Island, just like I am. I know Rob is from Brooklyn, where my family's from, so I know the Dem Parks.
Well, I'm from Long Island, but I've been in Brooklyn 20 years now, so
okay.
Me, I don't reject my homeland.
Okay, so we're all Long Islanders, though, but I'm the only Long Island Jew? Yes?
Half a Jew.
What's
over here.
What's the other half?
Regular Christian, whatever they want
so
to call it.
you're a cashew.
There you go. Exactamundo. Yes.
I love it.
All right, it's great. So you guys are going to be, this is going to be a fun episode. And if you haven't, we just did a Facebook Live before. You guys doing I Used to Love Her as a little bit of a teaser. Of course, when this episode is up and posted, you will know about the Facebook Live. But I try to do this as much in real time as possible. And a little bit later on in the episode, we're going to be doing some more songs. And when I teased you guys coming up, everyone's like, these guys are the real deal. What a great live band this is. So again, we're going to get into your story. But first, since you guys are here, you guys are my guests / co-hosts. That means you're going to be part of News. Yeah, my stupid sound bites, my little news segments.
That's good.
Yeah,
They make it everything. They make everything.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm no Howard Stern. I'm no Fred Norris. So we were talking about Howard Stern a little bit before we got on the air. But in Shotgun News, of course, you got to start it off with thanks to Alternative Nation. We're partnering up with them, and they just put an article out about our last episode with Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative, from Danzig. Of course, the GNR tie is with Hookers and Blow. I know you guys have play with Hookers and Blow and Dizzy Reed, so I'm sure we'll get to plenty of those stories.
Very controversial. It was a very controversial evening, to be honest, but we can get to that later.
It's Hookers and Blow. How could it not be?
More hookers than I've played with Blow.
I love it. But the article because of course he's not going to write about the entire 2 hours we spoke with Johnny, but this can lean into what we're going to talk about with you guys, so I think it's pertinent. It was when I asked Johnny about like what Alice in Chains has done, what SDP has done. When the lead singer dies, can you continue? And I think it's been 8 years since we lost Peter Steele. And, every band is different. When I interviewed Christopher Thorne from Blind Melon, who actually I'm going to be seeing here in the city on Wednesday, they thought they were done, but they just happened to come across a guy that we can make music with him again.
Oh, they replaced Shannon Hoon. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, this guy named Travis, who was, a handful of years ago, and Chris was. It's not a money making thing for him. He was being a producer, making a lot of money. And he's like, these are songs I still want to play. Shannon died and never got a chance to play, so everyone has their own reasons. So this was what was transcribed by Brett from Alternative Nation. So if you're lazy and you don't want to listen to the episode, so check that out. But if you did listen or didn't, this is what Johnny had to say when I asked him if he ever thought about, pulling an Alice in Chains, pulling an STP.
For us, it was literally like a 2-sentence conversation. We were like, that's it. That's it. There's there's no recovering from this. This is and you can't take that element out of Typo Negative and call it Typo Negative. You can't.
It's hard to argue with that, and you can't. Like, how do you replace Peter Steele? But then again, how do you replace Lane Staley? But Alice in Chains has put out great music since. STP, for me, it seems like it was a little too soon. But that's me. I don't know their healing process. But for you guys, and we'll talk about that, what was Guns N' Roses? You guys were holding the flag high while there was no Guns N' Roses. You've been doing it for 20 years. I know Axl Rob, I'm calling you Axl already. Rob, you're what, 8 years ago you joined? So...
I got in the band about 8 years ago. So like I said before, I'm just the new guy, and I think Johnny's most well equipped to give you the early idea of what it was like getting it together. Why don't you shed some light on that, John?
Yeah, well, Mike and I there were the last two original members of the band, going back to our first gig in May. Was it May 30th?
Yeah, I think so. May
30th of '98. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not to go too deep, but I think as you were kind of intimating, our inception was based on the fact that GNR was just not out there. I mean, one of my favorite shows back from when I was a teenager, I saw Snake Pit at Irving Plaza in '95, and that was, when they went into, they played My Michelle, they did a little riff from My Michelle, and the place just erupted. That was kind of what I was looking for in a show, and GNR wasn't out there. So when Mike and I and our original singer got together, we said, hey, why don't we try this idea? And it was very kind of impromptu, and just, we'll do it like a one-off, and went from a one-off to 20 years later.
Yeah, let's go have some fun. We'll see what happens.
No, it's crazy. In a lot of lineups, and this is how it ties into you guys, when Axl just came back with Bucket and Brain and different variations, it was Dee Snider that called it Rose and Roses, or a lot of these older bands. I mean, I love Alex Grassi and Quiet Riot, but is it Quiet Riot? A lot of, flippant comments like it's just a tribute band with some of these, I'm just trying to, even like with Fleetwood Mac going out now, it's weird.
I think some bands get a pass for when they replace someone, like AC/DC, obviously, Brian Johnson, when he came in, I mean, that he picked up the slack. I mean, people are Bond fans through and through,
sure.
But Brian came in and, I think they knew that if they were going to go on without, Brian, they're going to have a name. So the AC/DC thing, they knew they had to go for a big name with Axl and whatnot. So
right. So is it going to be an AC/DC cover band? Should they rename it? So these are all the things. This is how it ties into you guys, and you guys have been holding it. That you guys are a tribute band, and how does that compare to a band that's still holding on to the name and the members have changed? So that's part of Shotgun News. And the second part, I know we talked about a little bit off the air, so I know you guys know some of the announcement that Steven Adler made. It was supposed to be a secret, his band. That's what I was told initially when I interviewed Alex Grassi. Even Chips Enough said the same thing. They're not going to announce the singer until they hit the stage at the Whiskey May 10th. That did not last because of the crazy GNR fans from my GNR forum and a great Facebook page, Not in This Lifetime, that they're looking at the shoes, because all they would show when they would do Facebook Live, they would show, of course, Adler drumming and everything, and they would show the singer from like the ankles down, which sounds weird out of context, but they're showing his boots, and for some reason, someone else had their eye on Konstantin Maroulis. Is that how you say his name? Mm-hmm. I should know how to pronounce his name because he's going to be an upcoming guest, actually, as I post this, which is amazing. So, yes, Konstantin Maroulis from American Idol. He's done Broadway since then. He is the brand new lead singer for Adler's Appetite. I guess that's the name. It's still going to be Adler's Appetite. I don't know if it's going to form into something else? These are things I want to ask Constantine, if they're going to make new music, if this is just going to be a GNR thing. We'll see. But the other members, they did also announce, I guess they just figured, we're caught, fuck it, let's just announce everything. So they got Carl Restivo, rhythm guitar, and he was, these are all really, these guys have great resumes. He was in Tom Morello's The Night Watchman, Perry Farrell's Satellite Party, and he was in Rihanna. So, I mean, he's good. Sean McNabb, I don't think he's related to Donovan.
Donovan?
Yeah. He's bass Quiet Riot back in the day, and also Dokken. And Michael Thomas, lead guitar from Faster Pussycat and Bang Tango. So that rounds up the new Adlers Appetite, and that's going to be May 10th, Whiskey A Go-Go. And I'm also very excited because our friends in Classless Act /his kids band, London Hudson, the drummer, Nico Sangaris, they were a guest. That's their first official show, which is just, so I'm so happy for them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Speaking of, we talk about Facebook Live, they're big on Instagram. They're finally on Twitter, but they're big on Instagram. They're always doing live video. So I was watching them rehearse, and they have an awesome singer. So I just can't wait to see them just kick ass. And the young kids, bringing rock and roll. Too much of the SoundCloud rap and Cardi B these days. I can't handle it. So yeah, that's it. That concludes Shotgun News. News. So I want to get into Appetite for Destruction. How did you guys come up with that name? Oh my god! It's funny. Appetite for Distortion. I'm just thinking like radio-y. How do I do that? But like, how many? When you guys started, 1998. I was 15, so I think I was a freshman in high school. Not to make you guys feel bad.
Yeah. Older. It's okay.
We are older.
I'm still the youngest. I'm still the youngest in the band, so I'll take that.
Yeah, we were seniors in high school.
Seniors in high school.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. So I guess where did you? I know we're all from Long Island, but who are were you guys at the time? Were you? Were you stockbrokers? Were you what were you guys doing? Then all of a sudden, were you in other bands? How did the story start? You guys are pointing at each other.
Yeah,
to start.
My cousin and I were in an original band together, and Mike.
This is also John who plays Slash.
Yes,
not quite the main.
Right, exactly. And Mike and Andrew were in an original band together, and Bill, our original singer. He was the guy that would do the Axl, and then we were at parties every once in a while. We would just joke around. I would do the Slash parts, and he would do the Axl, and he would do a great Axl impression. And then from that point, I guess the conversation was had, why don't we just do a one-off show? And shortly after the band started, my cousin moved, and Andrew joined the band less than a year after we started. So Andrew was effectively the next closest thing to an original member.
Yeah, that works. I guess you're kind of. I know you're the Izzy, but I guess it was kind of like how, Rob Gardner was the original drummer, but I guess he wasn't in it for too long. So I guess you can be kind of like that.
And I knew how to play all the songs already, so it was a seamless transition.
Yeah, I heard he used to be the guy in front of the stage. That guy.
Who's the guy at the front of the
old
stage holding the beer up?
Yeah, right.
Play this song.
It's like, that's got to be our next rhythm guitarist right there.
We really had to
That's the
decide: do
man.
we want him in the band, or do we want to keep him out,
As a fan.
out on the floor, to because he would bring everybody to the front of the stage.
Yeah.
There would always be the what do you call it? The something of fear. What do you call it?
Circle of fear in front. Where you have
And
to.
Drew had no fear.
Yeah, every band needs a cheerleader to get everybody up there. Yeah.
Why Guns-N' Why that band? Because that's the first episode when I was with Scotto. It's like, why are we doing a podcast about Guns N' Roses? So I don't want to bore people with my story again. But when I saw, it was a different Axl at the time, because this was several years ago when I saw Appetite for Destruction at a place on Long Island called the Downtown. Nice little club, but a lot of places like BB King's now, just places with live music is shut down. I don't know. It's just awful. But this was years ago. So I saw you with a Van Halen cover band, Mammoth. And at that time, this is the closest I'm ever going to get to see Guns N' Roses or Van Halen. Little did I know that I would get to see Van Halen at Madison Square Garden. And then, of course, Guns N' Roses with the, reunion, air quote, the 3 reunion. So that was all those years ago. So they chose Van Halen for a reason. Why did you guys choose Guns N' Roses?
How'd you go, Rob?
I just think it landed at the formative time in life when you're in your early teens, when they really hit, and MTV was sort of in its heyday. And MTV gave you just enough to really stay interested without blowing it out of the water. Like these days, you can get everything you want, any information online right away, any video, news is all over the place. But MTV kind of spoon-fed them to us, and they were that bridge between hair metal and the Nirvana thing. They don't get enough credit for that, by the way. But I'm going to reiterate what everyone else, that raw, gritty street, oh my God, this is not a typical hair band going on there. And I think we were all around the same age. And when you are in your early teens, if a band speaks to you, it remains with you for the rest of your life. And that's kind of where I'm still doing it, and I'm 41 years old.
Yeah, we're the same age. The same idea. I mean, the GNR just kind of spoke to me as that band that, for whatever reason, just the type of music and, I mean, the unforgettable, vocals from Axl and the guitar. I mean, there was so much. I mean, there's so many guitar virtuosos that came out that day that that would speak to me. But then that perfect combination of that type of music and vocals just latched on to me, and since then they've just always been my favorite band. It's one thing. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's the musicianship in the band. Just the way Slash played, it didn't sound like the other guitarists at the time, or the way Duff was playing. It was a different type of music. It wasn't just like simple power chords and just singing over it and stuff like that. It was just, it had depth into it that other bands really just didn't have at the time.
I think that's a depth. That's a great way to describe it. The way that Slash and Izzy sort of weave in and out of one another in a not so traditional rhythm lead relationship, that type of thing. And obviously Axl's undeniable original voice, which is really the most important thing in rock. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people who find it grating, but when it speaks to you and you're like, oh, I want more of that. And I think it, is why millions and millions of fans. It's
right.
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
No, of course. That's exactly how I felt, even being a little bit younger. And I kind of became conscious of them more so after they had broken up. This was post. I mean, MTV was still playing videos at the time, but this was just like after the fact. I grew up with, like Green Day was on the MTV all the time. So they were kind of maybe like my first rock love. But there was something about GNR that even resonated even deeper. But there's something that goes into, like when I had Paradise Kitty come on, the all-female GNR tribute band. Because I always think of the movie Rockstar. There's something that goes into being in a tribute band. And is cover band a dirty phrase?
I don't get offended.
No.
But you may ask these gentlemen.
I don't feel that way. No, it's not an offensive term. It's kind of, we're ambivalent towards it. I don't think there's any kind of, hatred for the term.
No, not at all.
I consider us a tribute band. I mean, if someone calls us a cover band,
Yeah, I mean,
we're a tribute band.
I think that's a product of how they build it in the movie, where he got offended in the movie.
Sure.
And so by de facto, are we supposed to be offended? I mean, we know there's an element of tongue-in-cheek involved in this, obviously. But so if you can't have a sense of humor about it, or if you're going to get offended by that, I mean, it's like, come on, what are we doing here?
Well, it's like some people get offended by hair metal, where it's supposed to be, what is it, supposed to be power, like arena rock? It's just like a different phrase.
Right. Having a sense of humor about it is definitely important.
But it was one thing when you said you were, like at your friend's party and, let's just have like a one-off show and it could be a fun thing to do in your early 20s. You're doing this 20 years later. What goes into wanting to be in a tribute band? So was it, you had your normal life, your normal 9 to 5, and it's like, okay, I don't want to be in an actual, I don't want to say that's offensive. I don't want to be in an original band and make that my career. This is something I always want to have as a fun thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like what was the thought process, I guess, going, to make that kind of a commitment?
Well, we've all done the original band thing. Rob, probably the most successful out of all of us in terms of, how far he got with that whole process. But it kind of, I mean, this is more of a fun thing for all of us where we're, we love the music, we love hanging out, and if we get the opportunity to play on a stage where, for example, as an original band, we might not have that kind of forum to play, I mean, how can you not sign up for that?
Yeah, and the nostalgia that comes along with the crowd, they're interested in, the people are our age now, they want to see the music they grew up with. And these bands are getting older and less accessible to go out and see at a reasonable price. I'm not saying we have any way or shape or form replacing them. But, you know, I joined the band because I had just finished up trying to do my own thing in the rock and roll industry. Sure. And they happened to need a singer. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I can go in there if I get the gig, obviously. I don't have to do anything. Thank you for making me just show up for shows. And it's still a great way to perform. And it was one thing I knew I could do well. And just to see how people still have an affinity for music from the 80s that, you know, they're just going to keep coming out to shows, I'll take it. Sounds good. Great way to perform. And
the other part of it, too, and not to get up on my tribute band soapbox or anything, but we love the music, but we're not just doing this for just fun. We want to be authentic. We want to nail it. We're trying to get the music as exact as possible so that that fan that comes out there that may not be able to see the original band, we're trying to give them that experience.
So, no, you're right. And, Kat?
Well, I was going to say, that's what kept us going, what John just said there, for 20 years. We wanted to give people what they weren't able to see for such a long time there. I mean, 98, there was no GNR. 99, there was no GNR. 2000, 2001, we started hearing from Axl again.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was,
soundtrack.
What was it, that the MTV Awards?
Yeah, 02.
Round one. Round one.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
Yeah, I was pumped for that too. When I knew Slash wasn't in the band.
Greatest moment ever.
But Jimmy Fallon's out there with the GNR shirt underneath his jacket, and then he announces, I'm like, what the hell is this? And Axl's out of breath at Paradise City. I mean, he wasn't really ready for it. I didn't think so. But man, how exciting was that as a GNR fan?
We were GNR fans, and we're enthusiastic about seeing GNR ourselves. Seeing GNR on the VMA Awards. We got to see something we wanted to see that we haven't seen in a long time.
We like to dress up in wigs. I mean, who wouldn't?
There's a lot of fans. There's a lot of these kids that came out to the shows that loved seeing GNR, that loved GNR. I mean, our buddy JT, he kept us, alive for a long time because him and his friend came out and they loved GNR, and JT plays keys for us.
Yep.
And, they just loved GNR. They wanted to see it and they couldn't see it. So we just wanted to bring that to people.
Right. Those are the guys that are, at our gig that are shouting for the most more or less obscure song that, 95% of the crowd may not know. They're asking for B-sides off of stuff that, we've either never played before or no one else is too familiar with. But as GNR fans, we can relate to that and we can appreciate that. And it's fun.
I like it. No, this is like, how did also that, before I lose the thought, how did that VMAs affect you guys live? Now, I mean, not just like as a fan, but just as going out, because you were just the only GNR game in town. And I told you I went with one of my best friends, Chris, to the downtown, and Van Halen's his favorite band, GunsNRoses is my favorite band, and that was kind of like a cathartic experience and a cathartic and sad experience. I'm like, this is the closest we're ever going to get to see, because we would see David Lee Roth. The theater has changed a bunch of times. The NYCB theater, the theater at Westbury or whatever. It's like a circular. It's a small little arena, not arena, a little theater.
Westbury Music Fair.
Westbury Music Fair now. Whoever buys it, whoever is the sponsor rights, has a rotating
theater in the round
stage, and that's when he was still holding on to his hair and just didn't shave it, or he didn't get the wig that he has now and has the surgery. I've talked about my stuff, so I'm not casting any stones. But that's when he had like the doll hair still going, and he put on a great show, but it wasn't him and Eddie. Like, we're never going to see that. When I went to go see, when GNR came back with Bucket and Robin Fink, I'm like, I get to see Axl.
Yeah, that was like 2006. That was. The Hammerstein ones.
That was 02. That was 02. That was the Chinese Democracy Tour, and that was the last show because they were supposed to be in Philly the next night, and then the whole thing was canceled.
Yep. Oh, that's right. They canceled.
This is the Conan O'Brien one where he was like, Conan was making fun of him, and he dressed the crowd. He's like, "This is for Conan O'Brien."
Yeah,
it's like a bag of donuts or something.
Yeah,
at the garden.
Exactly. I was like, what's going on? And my first introduction to the Buckethead, who I recently just saw. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy handing out toys? I'm like, it was an awesome show, but it wasn't. I'm never going to see Axl and Slash together.
Right.
So
that's kind of how we felt going back to the VMAs thing that you asked. I kind of equated almost to the reunion, the Not in This Lifetime tour. When that happened, you're so excited to see them, but it's not exactly what you want. But you're still, the excitement outweighs the I wish it was the original guys thing. That's kind of how you justify it in your brain. I mean, it is Axl and Dizzy and Bucket and everybody else, and now it's closer now with Axl, Slash, and Duff and Dizzy and everybody else. But that was how I kind of felt back then, I think.
How did it affect you, I guess, audience-wise and people going out to see you? Because that's what I said before. You were the only GNR game in town. Now, at that point in 2002, Dreadlocked Axl was back, and there were some Guns N' Roses. Tickets prices were expensive. Did you find yourself getting more attention at that time, or was there any difference, more excitement? Was there any vibe around the band?
I think it sustained us at the very least. Like, it really got,
It was building up.
Right.
Like 2001, 2002, you started hearing about him again. Then they started talking about Velvet Revolver, and all of a sudden that started coming out, and there was the whole interest in the, the revival of GNR. Then, was it around 2004, I think, when we started, when we did the first show, BB Kings?
2006, yeah.
2006, right? So that's
you guys have played BB Kings, right?
Yeah, we played BB Kings. We started in 2006, and we played 5 or 6 years in a row, right? BB Kings.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it was always a great crowd there, and people were coming in there, and it was people. I guess people just wanted to see GNR.
March of 06 was our first show at BB's, and we sold it out, and it was
impressive.
Just crazy. Just barricades, cop cars, horses, lines outside. It was, probably our best New York City experience. In a long time.
I wasn't there.
But it was because of that show that got us, got us the recognition that we, that we were able to continue and land Rob.
But to expound on the one thing about when in this incarnation of the reunion, the quote-unquote 3/5 real reunion, we've definitely seen an uptick in our quality of venues and the places and the interest. It's been a boon for us. The last 2 years, we are playing the best venues we've ever played. And I think it's obviously in conjunction with a renewed interest in the band because they're around again. We know it's not a competition, but if people are going out and they're going to see them in July, and then they may be like, oh, I remember that gun show. That was awesome. I'm going to go again and see this tribute band in September or something like that.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Because it's an environment, of course, it's a lot less money. A mortgage is probably a lot less money than seeing, the Guns N' Roses.
Seriously.
But it's the environment they created. When I went to go see them, I don't know if you went to go in MetLife.
Yeah.
99 degrees out that night.
It was just the environment is something I hadn't experienced in a long time. Just that the positive energy was there, and
we made a thing of it at MetLife. We actually all got there early. We brought our acoustics just like we have now, and we all jammed in we got like around 4 tents together. And
nice.
Got a little jam session going in the parking lot.
I'm sorry I missed that.
That was a lot of fun.
The show was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
That Saturday night show, just hanging out there and hanging out the whole day, drinking, then going in, watching the show.
That's how I feel, when I remember, because it was a while ago, but I really enjoyed your show, and that's why I've followed you guys for this time, and I think I've mentioned you guys on the podcast, earlier in the episodes, that it creates this great positive environment, whether they're, Axl is present or not, and you guys are also presenting the musicianship. It's not like you guys are just up there drunkenly, singing Sweet Child of Mine like a bunch of sorority girls.
Yeah.
That's a mishmash of both.
We're not one of those tribute bands, and this is where it gets a little dicey. We're not tribute bands that they hear the music and they say, is there a demand for that? And they say, yeah, I can play that. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. And then you get that kind of half-assed, they're playing the parts not exactly right, they're extending the parts that aren't supposed to be extended, and, we try to stay away from that kind of a tribute band.
I like to think that we're critical. We want to hear things played a certain way. You were mentioning Van Halen. I'm a big Van Halen fan. So I want to see the guy, if he's going to do Eruption, I want to see the guy tap exactly the same way Eddie's doing it.
Sure. I
want him to use the Marshall amp and all the effects to make it sound like that. If it's a little bit off, as a fan, I'm going to notice.
Right.
So I feel the same way for Appetite. We want to get it as close as possible to, live what GNR does on the albums.
What about dressing up and assuming the characters? Because, of course, you guys can be yourselves and be a great band in itself, but there's something I love dressing up Halloween and all that, so I'm into it. But what was the thought process of making that decision?
That was kind of gradual, right? We were very loose at the beginning.
We just did the music in the beginning. Then, it was actually right around Halloween. Went to a Halloween store, and there was a wig that was, Diana Ross? This would be great for John. And just like, here you go, John. We played at some place in Brooklyn. I don't remember where it was, Red Hook, Brooklyn or something like that.
I remember.
It was, I don't remember when it was. And we gave like, here you go. We just stuck it on. I'm like, here you go, play the show now.
Yeah, that's kind of how it started.
And it
With
got
Diana
gradual.
Ross hair.
With Diana Ross wig. And,
Yeah.
then it's like, all right, well, got the wig. You got to get the hat.
That's right. Uh-huh.
And then everyone else is like, well, Mike, you look nothing like Duff. So let's try a blonde wig out. And
That's right.
It absolutely lends to it. If someone
I
told
think
me
it does.
tomorrow we could just get up here in our, polo shirts and
Right.
do what we got to do, yeah, of course. But
Right.
you got to bring it.
it's very tongue in cheek. I mean, we know we're not Guns N' Roses, and
Right, but at the same time, I'm hunting for, I'm looking at old pictures from old, Hit Parader magazines and saying, oh, there's the, shit happens button that /ad. I got to find that on eBay. I mean, there's that kind of stuff that we're looking for that, those little touches of authenticity that we try to hit.
Some of us are a little more obsessed with that than others.
Was that detail a little bit obsessed? Was that
No,
a little too much?
there might have been a point that I would have said yes, but from doing this podcast, now 61 episodes, no. Guns N' Roses fans are like nothing I've ever experienced. I thought I was a Guns N' Roses fan and doing a podcast about it, but just all the little details of what they wore, haircuts, all these things. It's just I think that adds to it. And I think that just adds to the allure of what you do. Yeah, a lot of you can be tongue in cheek, but the music is not tongue in cheek. The musicianship is not tongue in cheek. But all those little things I think fans appreciate. And it's like, you know what, these guys care. These guys really do care about the band. They do pay attention. It adds to the experience.
Yeah, and it's cool and surreal at the same time. That after a show, fans sticking around and they want to take pictures with us and in our costumes and wigs and stuff. I mean, that's weird, but still very cool that they had that much fun that they want to say, "Oh my God, this guy looks just like Slash. Looks like Axl. Let's take a picture with these guys." I mean, that's never something that we aspired to do or happen, but it's pretty cool.
Anyone drunk enough to think that you actually were Slash or Duff or anyone?
Well, John definitely looks as close to any of the members when he's in full costume.
Yeah, well,
not all of us
now.
could use a little help. It's never going to really work for me. But not that you don't look lovely, Mike, when Drew. Don't get me wrong. But John definitely has the look down the best.
Well, it's pretty easy just to put a wig on and hide your face and put a top hat on and a leather jacket and a vest. Anyone could do that.
But it's more than that, Johnny. It's the stances and not just any shirt. What shirt is it? Pepe Le Pew.
Well, you got the Pepe Le Pew from
and what show
the,
is it? What show do you wear a Pepe Le Pew shirt?
That's the Tokyo from the Use Your Illusion tour. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And everybody knows the Tokyo show.
Yeah, and that's the one that, I used to alternate a lot, but that's the one that I go to the most because it seems to be the most recognizable. But,
yeah. All those things I would notice. Even I now admit to, especially being in on like my GNR forum and things like where the hyper nerd is. I have those Tokyo DVDs, and if I go to see, like, oh, that's so cool. He's wearing the Pepe Le Pew T-shirt. Yep. So that's in addition to, you guys sound great. That's something else that I would leave with. Like, these guys get it.
That's the first thing we want people to know is that we're fans. We're not. This is not just like a job or like just something that we do on weekends. We're fans of the band first and foremost, and then musicianship and accuracy and authenticity, that all comes right after. But
there's a Comic-Con aspect to it. People who are
that's
really
a good way of putting it.
Yeah, there certainly is, and people appreciate going over the top, and they look, when they can look past the fact that you're wearing a wig and say, oh, that's great for a completely different reason. Oh yeah, these guys are trying and they play well. Let's keep going. It's
exactly.
That's a microcosm about the whole tribute.
Yep.
Scene is all about
the cosplay aspect. Definitely comes into play.
And you don't become just background noise to people at the bar. People are paying attention.
Yep.
And I think that's super important as well.
Well, that depends where we're playing.
So I know I got some messages from people who saw you in Boston. So like, where have you traveled to? Where have you been playing?
We've been up. We've been up the East Coast pretty significantly. We hit Maine. We hit, we're all over the tri-state, and we stick close to home pretty much. Most of us are, pretty domesticated with families and jobs. So we're in the tri-state area for the most part, but we'll travel anywhere that makes sense, I think.
We've gotten offers for Dominican Republic to go over there. We've gotten offers going down to Florida, California, but it has to fit in, unfortunately, too.
We got offered for a bar mitzvah off an island off the coast of East Africa recently, I think, which was
that would have been fun to work out. Too bad that one didn't work.
Yeah,
It was like with Paradise Kitty. They're based out of L.A., but then they got some offers to come out to the East Coast. So you never know, and that's also another tribute band. So it's not far fetched to think that these things are possible. Do you guys? Is there like a community of tribute bands? You know, like if there are ones overseas, because I think I have some tribute bands that follow AFD on Twitter from other countries. Is there some sort of secret society of tribute bands? Or?
I think it's regional, and Long Island is an absolute hotbed of tribute bands.
Right.
People come out for that stuff, and I don't know if it's like there in other parts of the country, but we've had good camaraderie with a bunch of other tributes from Long Island, and so I know that. But as far as being a cultish situation where we go to meetings, no one dressing in garb, I don't necessarily know if that exists.
Justice League of tribute bands. Yeah.
Justice League of tribute. You got actually planted a nice seed. There should be like a Comic-Con of rock bands. Like,
I love it.
Why not? I mean, people...
My costume wouldn't win, but I would love to see anybody who can pull it off.
You see all the time, especially I love when women dress as Axl or Slash. I mean, those are very popular costumes, and that was one of the reasons why I think making the GNR podcast makes sense is because it's not just a band, it's a costume. These are characters. These are larger than life, and see what you guys are doing. There are people who are, let's go to Trek, have like Star Trek, their own little Star Trek conventions,
Sure.
Minus the Comic-Con, they'll do their own thing. So how did you so when you said you started to get more noticed, was that just with your fan base? Because I know you were name dropping some people before that noticed you.
Yeah, I think it was just gradual in terms of, the gigs that we had at the beginning. We were playing in, pubs, very, very small bars, and, anywhere that we could play, we would play. And now we have more flexibility, and, we're looking for the bigger gigs, and we're trying to find, we still feel it's pretty surreal to be able to play at some of these places that we're playing, like the Paramount on Long Island, June 1st, by the way.
Starland Ballroom, June 22nd.
June 22nd, yeah, Jones Beach.
For people who, and again, I know we have listeners everywhere, but the way GNR fans are, this goes to the hyper nerd. There are people that will fly out to Iceland where they're playing, or different countries to do that. So the Paramount, if you want to make a trek, not just for Appetite for Destruction, it's one of the best.
Great intimate venue.
I forgot what major publication named it. It was just one of the best in America.
Yeah.
Polestar, I think, right? Polestar?
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
number 5 in the world or something like that?
The fifth busiest, the fifth most business in the world, right? It wasn't just the country, it was the world, I think. That's impressive, and it's great for us.
No, it's beautiful. I saw Danzig there. That was the most recent concert that I saw, and then Starland Ballroom. That's where I saw Velvet Revolver.
Yeah,
that's in the middle of nowhere, which is a cool venue. But I'm glad it was in the middle of nowhere, because that's when Slash and Duff were signing autographs behind.
Oh man, you can't beat that.
No, I still have the GNR shirt. It was my favorite GNR shirt, but I don't want to wear it with the faded Slash and Duff autographs on it on my wall.
You know what actually helped us? Dan just mentioned this to me when we was at the I'm not sure if it was the Paramount show or it was the Paramount show that Stephen Colbert mentioned us on air. You guys remember?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That was big. That there was was it a Ticketmaster?
Ticketmaster compensation.
They were refunding Ticketmaster because there was a lawsuit. The Ticketmaster, was taking money, extra fees that they shouldn't take, and then they refunded to their customers, offering them free tickets to other shows. And so Stephen Colbert is like, here are some of the shows you can go see. And there's like, you can go see a cheesy GunsNRoses tribute band at Gramercy Theater.
Some of the concerts they're offering in New York City include a Black Sabbath cover band, a Rolling Stones cover band, and a Guns N' Roses cover band. What gives Ticketmaster? If I want to see a lame Guns N' Roses cover band, I'll go see Guns N' Roses.
Max Sabbath.
The guys who dress up like McDonald's characters and do Black Sabbath.
I want to see that. Have you ever played with Max Sabbath?
No, we have not yet. No. Oh, and Tragedy. Yeah, we did play with Tragedy.
Oh, that's the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
Are they like the metal Bee Gees?
Yep.
Yes.
I've heard so many great things about them.
They're pretty sensational.
We just did a gig with them at the Capitol Theater. That was they were a fun
summer.
bunch. Yeah.
It's a little androgynous and lovely. It's great.
See, that's what I like too. It's the creativity that goes into the bands that and the music that we know and love that come from fans. It's not coming from management. It's not coming from Live Nation.
It's not a corporate think tank idea. Right. Exactly.
It's a fan think tank, and that's what we are. That's what we want. And you're giving us legitimate experience because, again, you're not, sorority girls up there just singing Sweet Child of Mine. It's just, but you're bringing the creativity into it. And so all those things, I just think adds to it. All these different tribute bands.
Yeah, and just trying to preserve the way it was. And that's the one thing we have over the new GNR. It's like, or the recent reunion is we're dressing like it's 1987.
Right.
So,
Yeah, well, I mean...
Not that we're selling more tickets because of it. But,
I mean, Slash and Duff kind of dress the way they always do, but Axl seems to be, I don't know, like Cher. It's like a different costume every tour.
Yeah, I love them. But I'm not gonna pile on yet.
But that's the thing. You know what though? Now talking about that, that's the thing that I miss a little bit because, I finally have seen Axl live. Whether it was the jerseyed Axl Rose with the Jerry Rice jersey, or when he had the shorter braids tied back. And he had the leather long sleeve shirt with the open vest and the crosses come out. He always looked cool.
Yeah.
And then of course now with, I don't know, he looks like an outlaw, with like the pre-ripped jeans and the like the fedora kind of hat kind of thing.
Or the hat from the guy from Poltergeist, right?
I'm thinking like it's like the Kung Lao hat from like Mortal Kombat. You throw
the hat. Yeah.
So, but to me, that's not the Axl I grew up with. So it's still something missing in a way.
We've thrown around the idea of updating a little, and we come to the conclusion, no, let's keep it back in the day.
If you ever, because I know you said off the air you've done Chinese Democracy once, maybe things like that you could. I don't know how often you do costume changes. Again, I don't know if you're like Lady Gaga-ing up there.
Gets kind of extensive when I have a nice dressing area. But again, it's not always as accommodating to be able to run backstage and do all that stuff.
But that's something that's I feel like I'm missing. But then I think about to mention Dee Snider again. Do you really want to see these guys in makeup still in their 50s dressing up like women? How is it? And then JJ French is wearing a wig. It's one thing for you, Mike, to wear a wig to look like Duff, but when you're JJ, why are you wearing a wig? That's weird. How
do we feel about our rock stars aging? And
that's something
that's tough. It's tough to reconcile sometimes.
But they're humans. It's you shouldn't. It's hard not to judge them for it because that's who we grew up with and that was our first love. But then again, they're human, and that's who they are.
And Axl gets more criticism than anybody for the way he looks. I mean,
he does, and it's
and the way he sounds, yeah, for sure.
And it's unfair because he was never fat.
No,
but he's not. We're talking about dressing. Do I want to see him in bicycle shorts at 55 years old or however he is now? No, I don't. I don't want to see that just because that's the way he used to.
I don't know if I wanted to see him that way when he was 28 in his prime.
Fair enough.
But I'll wear them to be authentic.
Right. Well, not everyone can be Mick Jagger, right? I mean, he's kind of the exception, right? Everyone else is, age is catching up to everybody.
Seems like it.
Except him.
And that's normal. That's why, like with David Lee Roth, just shave it. Just do what you need to do. Sometimes you just got to shave your head or dress appropriately, but it's not the band that you grew up with. But again, that's not their fault. It's not like, Mike, you're wearing a Yankee hat. It's not like, you're going to have, Paul Neal come out now? He's not going to look the same. Or even like older, you're going to have Reggie Jackson or Goose Gossage come out now. It's not the same. They're not still playing. It's different. It's a different uniform. It's the same uniform, but different players.
Right.
Goose Gossage has become a weirdo.
I know.
Paul O'Neill is great in the booth.
Yeah.
And Reggie Jackson, he still looks good for 72.
He is the straw that stirs the drink. Paul O'Neill is Drew's favorite player, so I'm glad you mentioned him.
Nice. Yep. Oh, yeah, you're both wearing Yankee hats. Yeah. I'm a Yankee fan as well.
Everybody here is.
Oh,
yeah.
Good.
It's Yankee Central over here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. My favorite was Tino Martinez growing up.
Oh, sure.
And I will say this because I want this on record. Speaking of YouTube, because I will, put it in after the fact. I got to find that clip. I'm the one that started John Sterling with that whole nickname thing. So I don't know how sports is in other countries, but here, in America, I mean, I don't know if it's America's pastime anymore with football, but this was back in 1994. No, it was 97. I'm sorry. This was happening in 1997. So we had I know it's like a side BS story, but we're all friends hanging out.
Sure, yeah.
So my dad and I had a share of Yankee season tickets, and this is before we were priced out of you have to be super super famous to get up close 8 rows behind the Yankee dugout. That's where we had our seats.
That's incredible.
And I'm not the one to make signs. I mean, yeah, I've grown up a wrestling fan, but I'm not that guy to make, John 3:16 sign. I'm just not. That wasn't me. But for whatever reason, and I would admit if I heard this anywhere else, again, Tino was my favorite player. I'm like the great Bambino. I had just watched The Sandlot.
I'm the great Bambino. Who's that?
If you remember The Sandlot.
Sure.
So I was made a sign with my dad, and I remember writing Pix 11 on the bottom of it, and my mom was at home taping it on the VCR. And when we get to our seats, there's a camera guy, I guess, on the mezzanine. He has his own little post, where he can have his camera. And, when Tino's first coming up the bat, we're waving at him, getting his attention. And he gives us the finger up, 1 second. A little bit, so it made it seem thumbs up as well, it's going to happen.
It's coming, right?
So then Tino comes up, and you see the red light goes on, and that's when he gives the thumbs up. And we're holding up the sign, yeah. So again, this was before, really the internet, anything like that. It wasn't instant. We come home and we're watching it, and my mom's like, "You guys were on TV." What do you mean? Were we in the background again, like wrestling, anything? Would you have a million signs? No, they focused in on us. Speaking of great Yankees, the late great Bobby Mercer said, "Wow, the great Bambino."
Hey, how about that one, Bambino? I like that. Instead of Bambino, yeah, very good. Well, you see some very creative signs at the ballpark.
Oh.
Nice.
So you precede John Sterling when it comes to this.
So 2 weeks later, and this is all, the video is now on YouTube. So 2 weeks later, Tino hits his 40th home run of the year. And this was the first time John Sterling said the great Bambino. And the next day, speaking of radio, we were talking, about Howard Stern with Dan. We used to work in the Howard Stern show. This was with Mike Francesa, who is making his return to New York radio.
Put my mic on!
From the studios of W.
Yeah, so that's been trending on Twitter. Maybe you've read about it on Deadspin.
Big fans.
Yeah, if you read it on Deadspin or any of that. So Mike Francesa, one of the most legendary, quote unquote legendary sports. Sports guys, sports radio hosts in the country, really, retired. He went on a whole year-long goodbye tour, but now he's coming back.
Year and a half.
year and a half. So he's coming back, a 4-month retirement he had. So this is when Mike and the Mad Dog was still here. And they were making fun of it, great Bambino, Russo's voice, that's so stupid, that's such just making fun of him. And then my dad tried calling up, saying it was my 13-year-old son, my 14-year-old son that did it. I don't even think they let him on the air because I'm sure they thought he was bullshitting. And then that's kind of where it stayed, great Bambino. Tino leaves. I think that's when he went to St. Louis, and then they got Jason Giambi, and then he shoehorned the great Giambino because everyone loved the Bambino, and then that's where it snowballed. Started making out all these nicknames. So again, I mean, if you're a baseball fan, John Sterling, I think he's 80 years old.
He is.
He's come up with all these different nicknames for every players or a different saying. They're all stupid. An A-Rod for A-Bomb, a Jeterian swing, or the Italian saying for Giancarlo.
That got a lot of backlash.
Yeah, so these are things that are trending, not just in our own little New York Yankee world. Now, I'm trying not to be too regional now. So it all started with me, Bambino, and the video is on YouTube. It took us a while to find the tape of it, and you mentioned Conan before.
You found it.
We found it, so I put it on YouTube, and it's funny. It was on the same tape. We mentioned Conan before, right?
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien back in the day did one show that was all kids. Like all the audience were kids, and my brother was in that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was on the same tape as that, and it took us a while to find it. So, God, every time John Sterling, I'm like, God, it's my name. I want to be like Trump and just like, patent pended it.
That's right, yeah.
I want to copyright it.
Why don't you say it? What is that? Well, how would you encompass this? What would you say to Susan?
That's baseball.
Exactly.
That's baseball. Andrew, Andrew / Izzy is just like so mad. You seem not to be a fan. Are you holding back anger?
No.
Okay,
Not at all.
Right. Because I hold back anger whenever I want the the originality. I don't know. I want credit where credit is deserved. So I want that. So that's my little.
You deserve royalties as far as I'm
Thank you.
concerned.
Sorry. So I wanted that at least to be said on some sort of outlet. So
he's obviously a hack who stole your idea. Yeah. I'm with you.
I tried tweeting Michael K, who never responds.
Well, we're like we said, we're Francesa guys, not K guys.
so anyway, I didn't even know where we were, like how we got off on this tangent.
That might not make the final cut. I'm just going to go on a limb.
But you've come across some big names in some big arenas, because I know we were talking about Dizzy Reed before, off the air. And that's someone who has been great. It's been cool. Like, it's cool when you see, and you'll see that sometimes with tribute bands, like certain members of like the actual band will go on stage with them and participate. I think that's awesome for, of course, the fans in the audience, and for the band, the tribute band, because it's like, wow, this is kind of like a stamp of approval. So Paradise Kitty has had that kind of stamp of approval, and you guys have had that as well.
Well, we were joined by Dizzy about a year and a half ago out in Long Island. He was playing a show with Hookers and Blow, and we were opening for them. It was sort of touch and go. We didn't know if he would agree to come on stage with us. And lo and behold, we get the news shortly before we go on. Yeah, Dizzy's going to come up and do Civil War with you guys. So it was a terrific experience in every capacity while we're on stage, and light bulbs flashing like we were, the paparazzi was all out to see us. And that's kind of where the pleasures ended. And then the emails of threatening, take those videos down.
Yes, this is January of 2017, right?
Yeah.
Is this so there was rumor shit, going around at that point, but it was all just like a swirl. Nothing was really confirmed yet. We knew, I think there was a couple of weeks before the Coachella thing, before Slash was sharing GNR stuff on social media, and something was coming, but nothing had been confirmed yet. So one of the things we joked about, which we never got a chance to really directly ask Dizzy, is, hey, what's going on? Who's involved? What's the reunion scoop? But we settled to have him jam on Civil War with us, which it was surreal. It was very cool.
Did you talk to him before, after? But like, what was the YouTube taking it down? Like
No, it was his management. You live in the world of cell phones and everybody's filming everything. So the club owner was on our ass, like, you got to take this down. Dizzy and his people want this video down, and I can only speculate that Izzy's very, very concerned about what his boss thinks, and we know who the boss is.
Sure.
So we were tasked with trying.
Can I jump in and elaborate on this one a little
Sure.
bit?
Yeah, of course, Dan.
Yeah. So I did So I obviously used my phone and I videoed this one, and I got great wide shots. I got great close-ups, and I took my single iPhone video and edited it with like zooming in and out and back and forth, and actually make it look like a multi-camera shoot.
Nice.
And I put that up on YouTube, and Blabbermouth picked up on it, and it exploded on Blabbermouth. And of course, false speculation, people making, stupid comments, this, that, the other thing.
Right.
It got huge. That's how it immediately overnight got huge recognition within the rock community. And then it got knocked down because it was somebody made a false copyright claim. Somebody who had nothing to do with the song actually asked YouTube to take it down because they were the publishing owner of the song Civil Wars, which they did not. And I guess I shouldn't mention who it was that took that down, but through the channels, and when it wasn't Dizzy, but through the channels, I said, this actually knocked out my entire YouTube account. Oh. So I said, I got word through to the person who took this down, thinking that they were doing the right thing on Dizzy's behalf, even though it wasn't their position to do that, and had them rescind their claim to the copyright. And I said, as soon as I see that pop back on and my account goes live, I will then turn it into a private video so that the public can't view it. because them trying to do the right thing for somebody else when it wasn't their position to do so made my YouTube account look bad.
That's just insanity to me because you're a tribute band. A member of Guns N' Roses just joins you. Yep. It's not like it's not an unreleased song. It's not a studio version. It's just a great moment, and just to take that down and I don't know. It sucks for you guys. I mean, you had your publicity for a little bit, but
I mean, why can't it just be that throwing the little people a bone? Us being the little people.
It was like
Dizzy gets on stage. We'll talk about this forever, but no, everybody's concerned that Axl's going to get wind of this and not be happy with Dizzy doing that. That's problematic.
Like anything else, like any other social media or YouTube-ish thing. I mean, one of the things we've learned over the years is the last thing you should do is read the comments. So so when the Blabbermouth thing hit, and then the New York Times contacted us and Newsday, a lot of different outlets called us for comments about about GNR. But one of the things that one of those common threads in the comments were how great Rob was, which was pretty cool.
Awesome.
Usually it's just trolls, but. I forgot what the point that I was trying to make, but it was yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I missed what. Say that again.
Yeah. So it was actually the negative comments that prompted them to knock down the video rather than the fact that they were just performing the song with Dizzy. Because everybody say, they should. A lot of people are saying, this guy's better than Axl ever was, and they should have him in the new band instead of Axl. And
I don't believe you, Axl.
People on the internet. One was my shaky hand on the camera. What was this guy pleasuring himself while he was filming it? Which I was because I love these guys. But that's completely besides the point.
Nice. Yeah, I guess I get it in a weird way because if they're relaunching this band reunion, they want as much positiveness, around it, publicity. But again, I don't know, that's not bad publicity.
No.
I think it's being too cautious.
As a very naive and clueless person outside of the real music business and industry, I can only assume that Dizzy is concerned that it's going to affect his meal ticket somehow. And
I think we can all understand that. Yeah, the boss is always watching,
right,
and you never want to. I mean, he's made it work for a good 25 years.
That's what I was.
30. So I don't know what he was worried about.
That's where I was going with the fact that Dizzy is playing with tribute bands now. Oh shit, things have really turned bad for him. That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. People were just making something out of nothing when it was just a great moment.
It was just a great moment.
Are you? Forgive me for not knowing. Is that video up? Are you able to share it now, or is that completely dead?
We can share it with you because you're a friend, but it's not publicly available from anybody who made the film or did the editing. Somebody else might have snatched it from YouTube and reposted it. If they did, I don't know where it can be found, but you can see it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the rest of the listening world will have to
come over
to my house individually and audition for the right to see it.
This is just like
ladies.
Even the tribute band of Guns N' Roses has all things you can't see and unreleased things. It's just it never ends.
We exude controversy because our personalities, it's part of who we are.
So I know this isn't the Kiss Axl Rob's Ass podcast, but if I could just give another example of his greatness, Rob. So
I don't know. No.
I met Rob. No. This is a great comment. So I met Rob in 2006. Mm-hmm. We met. I was doing this live band karaoke thing at a bar in the city, and Rob would show up and he would just belt out his Guns N' Roses tune and leave. After the second one, we spoke, and I said, I do these song parodies for a pretty well-known radio show. And we should get together. I could definitely use your Axl voice if you don't mind, singing my change lyrics to make the songs perverted and about Robin Quiver's breasts and other parts of her body. We can make some outstanding music.
Yeah.
So, 2 days later, we recorded a parody of Welcome to the Jungle. The day after that, it gets handed to Howard. The next day, he plays it on the air. And Howard's like, I don't think Dan found the guy that sounds like Axl Rose. I think Dan's got Axl Rose chained up in his basement and only lets him out to sing about Robin's breasts.
I got to put that. I want to attach that to the episode. Is that still? Oh, that's probably a Howard exclusive thing, right?
Yeah. You might be able to find it on YouTube. I can't. I have a contract or had a contract or anything that I produced for the show is their property, and I don't have the right to rebroadcast, post, distribute, et cetera, because it's theirs. They're paying
Without
me
the
to do
express written consent of Major League Baseball.
That ties everything in together. Well played. I like that.
I'll try to put it on.
And also about the secret society, guys, thanks for not exposing the Tributinati. Otherwise, you guys might get thrown out of it.
Well, I was going to deflect that, yes. I don't know. I don't know anything about this cosplay.
Well, all these things, these are things that, who knows, that people can potentially find, and these are just cool things that you guys have been a part of. I guess that, in addition to just what you've been doing for 20 years, these are just cool little pocket moments that you've been a part of, whether or not they're available to the rest of us are just cool experiences for you guys. And I think it makes it well worth it. And again, in addition to just playing these great clubs and getting well received and just these awesome memories that you can take with you and, I don't know, brag to your kids about. What do your kids think about you being in a GNR cover band? Do you guys have kids? Are you guys all sterile?
I have 3 kids. He's got 2 kids. He's got 2 kids. Yeah,
I've got 2 cats.
2 cats. That counts.
I've just started bringing my kids to the shows. They came to the Paramount show last year, and they're at varying ages where they're the effect is a little different on each of them. Like the 13-year-old was with her friends and looking around, why are all these people taking pictures of my dad? That was the one reaction. The middle one we're like, oh my God, I want to do that when I'm older. And the little guy was just like falling asleep. He's like, I just want to go home. I don't care what's going on here.
Yeah, my little guy doesn't understand there's a difference between Appetite for Destruction and GunsNRoses because he just sees the pictures of us, our videos and stuff like that on YouTube. So he hears I think they had commercials for GunsNRoses on last year. He's like, wow, Daddy, you're on TV.
Do you play it up? Do you say, yeah, Dad?
Well, I don't say anything because I don't want to mislead him. But
you don't want to say Santa Claus is not real yet?
Yeah.
Guilt by admission.
Sorry, breaking news.
Oh, my God.
Well, what about your significant others? Has that been a cool thing for them, or has that just been, hey, it's just my guy playing with the fellas? What has that been like?
Yeah, well, I think it's lost its luster with my wife. I mean, she used to come to all of our shows. Now it's just like, go do your thing and
no, my wife loves it.
Yeah,
GunsNRoses is her favorite band.
See, when they're playing, these guys are on stage, so I can tell you better than them. Their women are so smitten with them when they're on stage playing and they're in the audience watching. There's just like that look of renewed love in their eyes. They're like, okay, so he didn't take out the trash. He doesn't put the seat down. And sometimes he comes home smelling like strip club perfume. But look at him. He's a rock star.
That's so cool. No, that is awesome. Because, I don't know if some of you can say, what you do for your Clark Kent life, what you do. And is it a dual life for you, or is this all part of who you are? Is this all, it's all John? Whether you're half this during the day and then at night you're a superhero.
Yeah, well, I do. I'm in publishing. I'm in magazine publishing, a very somber, dying industry at the moment.
Hey,
but
I'm in radio. What do you want?
Well, yeah, when my coworkers, a lot of coworkers come to see shows. And
that's stuff
there's
too.
There's definitely the Jekyll and Hyde, Clark Kent thing about it that they give me a good laugh about it. It's pretty cool.
Because, for me, I introduce myself as Brandon. That's, my Hebrew name. I don't know. But then Brando just sounds cooler on the radio. And I'm not, just saying just to say it, but over years, girls like saying Brando. I've corrected them. No, I like Brando. I'm not going to correct them, whatever. But it's a weird thing for me. It's a weird duality. And I've often used the analogy, what am I, Axl? What am I, Cher? What am I, Bono? I'm not this one-named person, so I always felt silly a little bit. But so I've had this weird duality thing, and that's just being on the radio. I don't see fans in front of me. When I get these messages on Facebook, and just like with you, John, when you first reached out, I mean, that means a lot to me. I'm like, I feel like I'm just, who's listening to me? Even when I've been on FM stations, I'm just saying some corny joke, playing music. It doesn't, who's going to care? So I don't know if there's ever that. I mean, you guys have been doing it for 20 years, so guys care. People care.
Well, we all deal with that kind of.
Medium. You have instant or no gratification right off the bat. If they think you suck, right. Which we've never really had that experience, but
cool.
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
You're behind the mic. It's either you're going to have ratings or you're going to have comments, and you have to wait till after to find out if you've done good work. So believe me, I get the difference. So it's nice to get instant validation,
instant gratification. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
after-
what
after-
human doesn't
That's
like
the
that?
age we're
You
in.
know,
After a song ends and it's quiet,
Oh
well,
my
it's
God.
because you guys won't stop noodling around and just go because they don't know where to cheer sometimes.
That's right.
See, that's the cool thing when I announced, I like to announce guests and get questions and, kind of hype it up. And I just didn't know, like, hey, this tribute band's coming on. You just never know what people might say. I never know what guest, even like Johnny Kelly last episode, like people might not, I don't know, like Typo Negative was like a Brooklyn, New York, yes, they were famous, but that's where they were from. Would people not care? Would people say, hey, stick to Guns N' Roses? I don't get that. With the tribute band, I had no idea what people would say. A lot of just awesome and loving comments that I got, and people wanted to hear your story. Especially, I was wowed when you guys posted on your Facebook that you've been doing it for 20 years. I mean, and I'm like, wow, I know I had seen them like a while ago, but 20 years is a long time to do anything and to be successful
20
at
years and we're still in our early 40s, which is...
right? And to be successful at it. I mean, you could just be doing it, playing in your friends' backyards or, your cousin's brists or something like that. But you're
bridal
playing,
showers. Yeah, we've actually done bridal showers before.
Sure, you can just be doing that. Like, I have comedian friends that are still playing basements. I mean, it is what it is, but you guys are playing the Paramount, which is legit one of the best venues in the country. It's just amazing to me.
Well, I think I've learned that there's the driving force between this is sort of like threefold. I mean, John, Mike, and Sean, our drummer, is not here. They're constantly active in terms of looking for opportunities, and it's relentless. I'm constantly getting text, and I'm sure there's a thread about them bitching about me when I'm not available and whatnot. But really, it allows me and Drew to just sit back and just wait for voting time on whatever we want to do. And the three of them just are relentless. They're constantly contacting people. They have things going on. So you always need that as an artist in self-promotion and to look into what's going on. And we have that threefold in this band. So that's been super helpful. So
I don't know how the guys got this gig, but they had a gig like 2 hours outside of Buffalo. Was that Olean? Is that Olean?
Olean, New York.
Olean, New York. The venue, like the size of like 3 airport hangars, like plugged together. And it was in the winter when Buffalo was getting like 6 feet of snow, and people drove 4, 5, 6 hours to come see this guy. The house was packed. They did like a VIP acoustic set, like upstairs in a small room, and then the main stage, and they played every song in the book. And the place was just going crazy.
I think that says something, just the testament to not just Guns N' Roses music itself, but the quality that you guys are playing it. That's insane.
There are a lot of GNR fans out there, and
Yes,
we just
there
got to
are.
get out there. That once they hear Axl Rob,
well, I trust
do his
John.
thing.
I trust John implicitly. The other guys, kind of. But.
Questionable.
So when you have that trust between the singer and the lead guitar, it's going to be solid gold. I don't know. That was just sort of bullshit.
But it's true. It's I mean, you guys can all compliment Rob, and I have too, but it's the whole band, because especially GNR fans, they will scrutinize every single note that you guys are playing. And I've never heard mumblings of any kind of complaint. And I'm like working the crowd, and I'm taking pictures, and I'm just hanging out. And I'm the most critical of any music that I hear. If somebody is playing, doing tribute of another band or covering another band's song, and they kind of got the feel of the song, but the guitar solo wasn't dead on, or the Stones band, the sax player played the solo in the right place, but it wasn't the exact same notes as in Brown Sugar, which is really what makes the song is nailing those beautiful notes that, what was his name, Danny Keys did. And you never hear a complaint from anybody about it not sounding like Guns. And that's the thing. You hear these guys play, and it's because I got Axl Rob chained up in my basement. I only let him out to play gigs.
The good thing about my wife go to the
There's
show.
a lot of steak involved.
My wife goes to the show, and she's just standing out in the audience, and she gets to hear what people say. And the best compliment she heard last year is she heard a couple of people talking, and she's like, "Are they lip syncing up there?" She's like, "Is that a CD they're playing? Like, is that really them?"
That's great.
So she's listening to
That's
that,
a great
and
compliment.
she's like,
Yeah, that's a compliment for sure.
"That's so cool."
No Milli Vanilli, though.
For the right price, we'll do anything. I mean, it's a topsy-turvy world. We'll negotiate.
So for the right price, you'll wear ashless chaps, Axl Rob?
I'm this close to it
Please,
already.
The bicycle shorts are enough. Come on.
Bicycle shorts and a white biker jacket. I mean,
are you spinal tapping it a little bit? With
their amps go up to 11.
No, I'm talking about with what's his face from The Simpsons? What Harry Shearer? What he did in
the pickle and
the cucumber wrapped in tinfoil.
That's not so far. Let me just say it's not so far-fetched.
Okay,
not so far.
It kept beeping when he was going through the airport, and he finally pulled it out of his pants.
Do you have any artificial plates or limbs?
Not really, no.
All I'll say is it was impromptu, and a sock doesn't work as well as a cucumber may have.
Okay,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
If I could just throw out one more quick story,
and
a testament to how great they sound. So, executive producer of the Howard Stern Show, really active in his kids, supporting his kids' sports teams and stuff like that. And I heard him talking to somebody about their practice facility and its nickname being the Junkyard. So he would never ask me to do something like outside the radio show, but I was like, look, I got to get the guy that does, the Guns N' Roses parodies for us and have him do like Welcome to the Junkyard, for them. And if they have like an end of year thing, like an awards dinner or whatever. And he's like, oh, that's a great idea. If you don't mind, next time you're recording something for the show, you belt that out or whatever. So every single parent went up to him and said, how on earth did you get Axl Rose to sing for our football team? And then when he tried to say that it was an impersonator, nobody would accept it. They wouldn't believe him. Like, oh, you're just saying that because the same reason why we took down the video about with Dizzy playing with them. Because Axl didn't want to be known as a guy singing for the Greenwich, Connecticut 10-year-old football team's awards dinner.
That's beneath him, I guess. No, Axl is a hard voice. I mean, over time, we have all these, American Idol and The Voice and The Four and all these things. There's so many people with a great voice. We're oversaturated, I think. But the uniqueness of Guns N' Roses, of Axl Rose's voice, of Axl Rob's voice is so rare. So to be, on point on his voice, it's difficult. And not to sound like you're, doing a parody of it. Like me, in the car trying to, swing. I can't do it. I'm going to sound like I'm stepping on a ferret. Like everyone tries, to do the Axl Rose voice, and it always comes out like you're just being silly about it. But to do it genuinely, and to have Howard Stern think you have Axl Rose locked in your basement is it's a testament to your skills.
Well, I can't speak to whatever people think as far as how well it's done. I just enjoy doing it, and when you're just, your mother's a music teacher and you're running around your house, singing all the time, and this band comes into your life, you just sing it sort of as a joke when you're younger, and if you just keep doing it, it becomes ingrained in your head. I'm not saying that means you're going to be good at it,
sure.
But it's just you hear it at a different level than other people may hear it, and you try to mimic it the best you can.
I gotcha.
And just as important as the vocals, every musician that scrutinizes other musicians playing the music of other musicians say anybody can learn the song note for note. But what's important and what makes it authentic is they don't just learn the notes, they capture the tone. Mm-hmm. And that is the most important thing of all in making it sound authentic. And that's the combination of your playing technique, your equipment, getting everything fine-tuned just right, and just getting that so you could isolate each instrument and it would sound like that person, that the original artist playing in the studio when they were recording it.
That's what made GNR, at least the Appetite 5. It's, Axl got great musicians. I mean, I like every member, past, present, future, who knows, because he gets great people to do it. Bumblefoot did a great job. Bucket is incredible, but it's a certain tone that comes with those songs. That's why I left those, shows at the Roseland Ballroom. It's like I saw a great show, but I didn't see Guns N' Roses, and that's how I felt. And I don't like saying that because again, I like all of the members, and it's not taking. He gets great musicians, whether it's Frank, it's Brain, I like it, but there's just something about, again, the tone, in addition to just getting all the notes right. It's more than that. And I'm not a musician, and I can tell.
And that's the one way, like, replacement players kind of make it their own, even if they have to play it note for note. But what they will do that makes the difference is they use their own signature tone. And there's not only one great tone. I mean, Eddie Van Halen tone and Slash tone are completely different, and they're both amazing tone, and they're unique to the artist. And like if you hear, Buckethead play a solo when he's with Guns, or Ron Thal, Bumblefoot, again, they're playing the notes that everybody wants to hear, but with their signature tone. These guys play the signature tone of the original artists, and that's what makes it sound so authentic. And the best comparison I can give is like the Eddie Van Halen tone. A million guys can play Eruption. Every guy that bought a guitar from 1978 on can play Eruption, but to be able to replicate the tone is what's key. The same way as the tone in Rob's voice.
Sure.
Is key to it sounding. The tone in these guys' instrumentation. It's just the most important thing in the world.
Like, Johnny spends a lot of time on his tone. He's got the Slash head.
And the only guy that comes close to your replication of his tone is the Eddie Van Halen guy from he used to be.
I can't hear you, John. You need your mic.
He was in the. Sorry. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he
John
was in the
and Dan are sharing the mic.
He jumped to the other one.
Yeah, right. that's
Unchained, right?
Unchained, yes.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. So any good like GNR stories over the years for you? Any like whether it's like a show you've been to, or was there anything else to Dizzy Reed playing with you? Anything?
Dizzy Reed was fun because we got to. We wanted to meet him. We just, we're a bunch of fanboys when it comes down to it. We want to meet the guys in GNR. So Dizzy Reed, we got to go down there, and after the show, we saw him play, and afterwards, like, all right, let's go meet him. And he like disappeared. Like, where the hell is he? So me and John just decided to hang out outside his dressing room.
I give Mike all the credit for
outside his dressing room for a couple of hours, and like he's still not coming out. Let's walk in, and just walk back in there, and there he is, just talking with Johnny Kelly and
some
Alex,
lame-ass security.
Alex Grassi, and they're just in there talking, hanging out. So like, we'll hang out too. So we just started there, just talking, and they're just talking like a bunch of normal guys. We're like, wow.
Yeah,
Dizzy.
Got a nice picture with Dizzy.
They also, before I joined the band, they opened for Gilby.
Okay.
Gilby, yeah.
We opened for Gilby twice. Yeah.
How was that experience?
That was fun. Yeah, he was very cool. We met him a couple of times after the gig. That was a lot of fun.
John was in contact with him. He was supposed to jam with them, but
we were. I mean, he was responding to emails. I mean, I wasn't expecting any kind of email response, but he was replying back to emails. I'm like, hey, you want to come up and do a Guns tune? But which was probably a foolish thing to ask. He's like, no, let's do a Stones tune, which never ended up happening, but
that was cool.
Don't give up on that dream.
No,
well, we were close to.
You played with Bumblefoot, yeah.
I didn't play with him.
Didn't he come up with you?
No, I did a short-lived weekly residency doing some covers with a different band, non-dress-up, so it wasn't a conflict of interest with these guys or anything. But a guy in the band, he was Sebastian Bach's bass player.
Okay.
And he toured with Guns, and Bumble came out. So I performed in front of Bumblefoot, and he was all too complimentary and very cool. And
that's great.
Yeah, it was nice to rub elbows with the stars a little bit,
And you left an impression, too, because I asked him about it months later, and he still vividly could tell me how great you were.
Oh, please,
and again,
stop it. We got to shut this down already. Edit this out.
But I had the opportunity to hang with him like 3 or 4 times in different circumstances. And like the first time, and we talked about that, and then the next time, he was like, oh, yeah, you're the guy that's the friend with the guy that does the Axl voice. So definitely remembered him. And
that's pretty much my brush with any type of GNR situation. But it's always great, I mean, I'll cherish it forever.
Johnny got a call to play with, I think, Adler, right? Is that what it was?
What's this?
Yeah, but was that...
Adler, right? At the Crazy Donkey.
Yeah.
Crazy Donkey.
Crazy Donkey.
Another
that's right.
defunct Long Island place.
Someone in Adler's band broke their hand? Or?
Someone broke their hand, and they got a call the day of the show. Listen, Adler needs a...
Danny Stanton reached out to...
Oh, Danny is the manager of Twisted Sister, right?
Yeah. He reached. His agency reached out to us, said, hey, anybody available to do an emergency show with Adler? Also didn't work out, but we were...
close. This close.
Yeah, we were close.
Keep pushing it.
The guy decided last minute, I guess his hand wasn't broken enough.
Do you guys have that movie rock star dream where one of you going to be Mark Wahlberg?
Absolutely.
And replace. like Axl Rose, did you think you were going to be the next singer for Velvet Revolver at some point?
I know someone who almost had that opportunity, and that's a secondhand story. But I'll kind of leave it at that. That's a different entity. But yeah, that would have been fantastic. I would have been far underprepared for that type of environment, and I wouldn't have been the type of person they were looking for. I think you start to notice these successful bands, they want people who are already in a level where they can deal with that type of thing. So
fair enough.
If the stars aligned and tapes got listened to and I was considered to be decent enough, I still don't think anything like that would happen. So, but it's fun to dream. It'd be great. Yeah, just like I would even just take a one-off gig, like what's that? Make-A-Wish Foundation. That would be my Make-A-Wish Foundation. Yeah.
I think I Make-A-Wish. All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully, minus the cancer.
And again, Rob's selling himself short as far as like his ability and not being ready to walk into that, because even he can sing the Axl stuff in the high register, but his natural singing voice is more in that lower register, and like the Scott Weiland,
it's like James Barry White over here.
James Hetfield, Wayne Staley. I mean, that kind of stuff he nails too. Dead on.
I think Rob was the closest acts Rob had to be being in GunsNRoses on April Fool's Day. I think there was a post put on Facebook.
Terrible.
That
he made an announcement.
That Slash was playing it where? Roseland or something like that?
I forget, yeah.
And we're like, wow, we're proud to announce that our own Axl Rose will be performing with GNR. Or was that Slash?
Nice joke they play.
Genius idea.
They play on me. Obviously, I know it's not true, but you know the power of Facebook. All your friends start messaging you. So.
Oh, is this real? Is this real?
Yeah, pranks are a big part of this tribute world we live in, too. You know.
Nice, nice.
It's so funny how gullible we all are when we hear something that we want to hear, because I fall for April Fool's pranks every year because it's something that I want to happen. You know, and I know it's April 1st. I'm not supposed to believe anything anybody says to me. You know, and right in the morning, the girl that I'm with tells me that I look great. You know, so and I believe her for a second. You know?
It's like, hey, we check the calendar.
But yeah, I fall for those things all the time if it's good news.
That's cool. So the website is appetitefordestruction.com,
it's GNRtribute.com.
Okay, that's why I asked. I should have been more prepared.
Thanks. Yeah,
we tried getting appetitefordestruction.com, but apparently somebody had it 20 years ago.
20 years ago, when the web was
in its infancy,
fairly new. Yeah, we were all doing the TCP/IP and
okay.
Mm-hmm. But
and you're at Facebook and Twitter as well, right?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're all over the place. But GNRtribute.com's got all the links there. But June 1st, Paramount. That's our main.
And everybody will invariably confuse us with the other Appetite for Destruction, which is a North Carolina-based
a few of them. Yeah,
entity that does quite well and travels a lot. But we're the we're the Northeast. We're the Northeast one.
I got you. You're the Northeast chapter.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I never had a problem with that.
And you're doing giveaways, right? For the Celebrate? Is that what I read on your Facebook?
Yeah,
Mike can tell you all
20
about
years.
that.
We're just, we're celebrating 20 years of doing this. So we're, for the month that's coming up, we got the shows at Paramount to actually celebrate the 20 years and Starland to celebrate the 20 years. Going to give away tickets, T-shirts.
The first 1,000 guests
stickers.
get Mike bobbleheads.
Mike bobbleheads.
Yes.
Oh, actually, yeah. So, Brando, we actually brought this for you. This is the first giveaway. It's a little, little Appetite swag here.
Thank you.
It may look a little familiar.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Drew's our model.
Yeah, this is for you.
I was actually going to ask you about that shirt, so thank you. No, wow, thank you. I'm gonna rock that. And stickers. No, I'm definitely going to wear
Appetite stickers. Sure.
And plaster. Thank you very much. I like it.
We have T-shirts made up. We change them every couple of years. Some people like to wear them. Some people use them as rags. We don't know.
Yeah, that's the tongue-in-cheek
but
part
it's pretty
too.
cool.
People are buying our shirts. How is
people
this
coming down
possible?
to the shows wearing the shirts? Like, that's a shirt we sold out of a couple of years ago. So
no, this is going in my GNR collection. This will be in my regular rotation. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're all super cool dudes.
Thank you. It's been our pleasure. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Congrats on all your success and continued success. This is just
same to you, man. Just the beginning. Can't wait to hear more of it.
Yeah, no, same thing with you. Good luck, more gigs, and just hopefully more things to come for all of us. A nice little big love fest.
Big GNR family. Right?
So I'm gonna have you guys play us out. And just again, thanks to everyone listening to Appetite for Distortion and of course Appetite for Destruction. 61 episodes in, could not do this. Just like for Appetite for Destruction, you could not do this without the fan base. I couldn't have a podcast without the fan base. So follow us on iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. we're everywhere. Stitcher, of course, Alternative Nation featured on there. We're looking for podcasts, so we have a lot of cool projects in the future. So be on the lookout for that. So when you guys are ready, you guys will take us out, and this is Appetite for Destruction.
New Rocket Queen.
A premier GNR tribute band. So take it away, fellas.
we go.
Amazing. Yowza. Thanks again for coming down, guys. That concludes episode 61 of the AFD show. When will you see the next one? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.